Right. Good morning. Incredibly disappointed in losing the game against a really excellent team in Tennessee. Having an opportunity to go back and watch it, parts of the game that were really good. Defensive performance for the most part, and the kicking game. I thought we outplayed them in the kicking game and won the hitting yardage, 50 by 49, 50 yards. And then nothing impacts a game more than turnovers. Since a year ago, 23, the beginning of that season, we're 11-0 when we win the turnover margin, and 2-3 in those games in which we didn't win it. And we were outscored 10-0 in the turnover or points off a turnover. So, we had initially we had started out. In the first quarter, we were moving the ball, certainly not explosively, but moving it. And I had an opportunity there on 4th and 2. Had a guy that was open, and they did a nice job of popping the ball out. And then we come back, and we have some opportunities there. We had a nice drive after the interception, in plus territory. And we have an opportunity the very next drive we move the ball down the field, a 10-play drive, and we had to settle for a field goal there on 4th and 1, and make it knotted up at 3-3. The turnovers and where they were at were really a real issue, obviously. And sometimes you can overcome those, and then when you get the ball either in plus territory or right there at midfield, and you can't capitalize, and not only you not capitalize, but you turn the ball right back over. Again, that's a recipe to lose. But all that being said, I think the fire of the guys, the way the defense was playing, and the way Luke was punting the ball, our coverage units were covering as well. And again, a little bit of the return game, we were able to control the field position pretty well despite losing that battle. Decided to make a change at the end of the half. We're not in any kind of a rhythm offensively, and again, I just didn't feel like we were making good decisions in the scheme, and certainly there's lots of issues for lack of a better word, and but making good decisions and putting us in a good position is part of everyone's job, and felt that maybe Mike could come in and spark us, and coming out of halftime, give him a little bit of playing time going into half, and then coming out of halftime. Did some good things late in the fourth quarter as he got settled in, and proud of the fight. Had a 10 and a 9-play drive there, late in the game, and gave us a chance there late. But we got to get better, and I know again that everybody knows that we're not playing very well right now on offense, and we've got to do a good job of putting our players in position. It's us, it's we, it's ours, and it's no finger pointing. We got to do a better job. It always starts with us as coaches, of coaching the details, of coaching the communication, making sure that we're putting them in a position where we can effectively, communicate, effectively, execute. And, that's kind of a basic expectation. And we've been incredibly inconsistent that way. So, there ain't nobody throwing anybody away. From a player standpoint, we got to get guys better, and we got to develop them. And again, like I said, we've got to do a great job of putting them in a successful position. Then we got to execute within there too. And I always look at us first. Why are we not? And sometimes again, there's some real opportunities there. We're not making the right decisions consistently, and that it's hard to get into a good rhythm. It's hard to have confidence when you're not doing some of the things that you need to do from a decision making within the game. And so now maybe this will give us a better chance, moving forward. Believe in Mike. I made that announcement for lots of reasons. I certainly didn't want a decision like that to hang over anyone's head. and we got to get better. And and sometimes, maybe change is good. And as I expressed to Jackson, this is a moment. Jackson's going to have an amazing future and career. He's going to play this game a long time, and all of that will work itself out in due time. And that might be, pulling the trigger even on Saturday night. Just we know how the game of football is sometimes. So he's got to stay ready, and he understands, where he has fallen short in his responsibility. But anything that he puts on tape, to me starts with us, as a coaching staff. And so you're either coaching it, or you're allowing it. So we got to get better there, and think that maybe Mike will come in and. He's a very talented guy, not a really experienced guy, but he has certainly shown that he's got the right stuff to do it at different times since he's been here. As I said, we had plenty of opportunity. We went blow for blow, with Tennessee. I felt in some ways encouraged. Because it was a strong test, and although we fell short in the bottom line, and this is a results-driven profession, certainly I recognize that. But there's no doubt that we gave ourselves a chance, to not only compete but to win the game. And we needed some stuff to go right for us in the second half, and not enough things did. And you learn from it. And just like I told Jackson, man, that's a bad moment, that's a bad night, that's not a bad career. And so stay out of the gutter, and focus on getting better. And that's all of us. So the field position part of the game, not being able to score, we've been really good. We were tops in the country in the red zone, and certainly we didn't perform there. Well there offensively, and really, again, you can't get down there and not score. That's a huge part of the game, an opportunity to tie the thing up at 10-10, and that's not all on just the quarterback either. And the +1 run game is very effective in college in our conference. You'll see, Ole Miss or Missouri. Missouri's #1 in the country in red zone offense last year, and that's a big part of who they are. Certainly, Ole Miss, one of the best offenses in all of college football, executing at a really high level, doing the same thing. What we got to do is target the right people, stay on blocks, not let people that shouldn't make plays or pop the ball out be a part of, causing the turnover. And so we got to be better, and no confusion, just getting whooped or not doing the things fundamentally that we need to do to go execute the basics at a consistent level. And as I tell everybody, defensively, I don't draw up any scheme defensively where I expect somebody to have to whoop somebody, whoop a blocker and make the play. If that happens, fantastic. Do we teach you how to do that? Yes, we do. But I expect if there's one blocker, there's two gaps. There's a gap outside of the blocker, there's a gap inside of the blocker. Our job as a staff is to have two defenders ready to defend that play. If that's a perimeter screen, if that's an isolation play, if that's a counter play, if that's a quarterback draw, that's our responsibility. And the flip side, on the offensive side, it's the same thing. Having hats for hats, the first play of the game, we got a bad snap. Javonte thinks the ball goes over his head. It's a bad snap. We got the thing hatted up. You got a split offensive concept where you have, half the defense has to move this way. We got half the defense has to be over here, and we got them outnumbered. If we're able to have a clean snap, a clean handoff, we're going to be up to the safety. And so that's what you want, from an offensive standpoint. But everything seems to be a little bit hard right now, not much margin for error when you're playing really good people, and it's only going to get more and more challenging. So we got to get better at the basics. I hate saying that nonstop, and the basics will promote you and help you win a game when you do the little things right over and over and over, like stay off the ground and tackle the guy with the ball, and you got to play physical. You got to move people. I thought early in the game, in the first quarter in particular, we were doing some. We played in a really good physical way offensively, and so there's some encouraging things there. But we can't have the issues that are keeping us from having any kind of continuity, and it's a little bit of everybody. And so we gotta get into a rhythm. Not a better time to do that than this week. Going on the road for the first time, maybe in some ways that'll be good. Well, our guys can focus in and galvanize. Going on the road, you've got to. Everything's a little bit different, and it's a different type of challenge, and I'm really excited about that. I know our players are as well. They recognize the challenge. They recognize, what needs to take place from a, getting better standpoint. But the safety, again, same thing, the basics. We get a false start when the ball's at the 4. Back it up to the 2. Don't love the play design whatsoever. That's not what we practiced, and that's what we called. We have some miscommunication. And we turn a guy free, and it tackles us, in the end zone. So that's what we get, and it'll continue to happen if we don't do a better job. And it's just not good football right there. But same thing, Now we're backed up. Now we got to kick, and I thought Zach Schmidt was fantastic. We're kicking off from our 20, and next thing you know, they possess the ball at the -6 yard line. So. That's another great example. Luke Elzinga averaged over 51 yards a punt in 7 punts. Did some really good things there. Again, Peyton Bowen had 30 yards returning, which doesn't sound like a lot, but Tennessee gave up 8 yards total in returns last year. So really did a fantastic job. And again, our coverage units, as I said, going against a really explosive special teams unit, they did a fantastic job, really answered the bell. Again, as I said at the beginning, I thought defensively there's a lot that you can build on. I love the energy. I love the focus. And probably most of all, outside of the discipline and the structure, I like the physicality that we played with, the hunger, the depth of players that played. Obviously, that side of the ball, we lost Kendall Dolby. Just my heart breaks for him. He'll be fine. He'll recover, and he'll continue to have an opportunity to play this game a long time. But he's a guy that I've been bragging on for several months for obvious reasons, and just hate that. That is a part of the game. You hate that for him. But, he's going to have a surgery, I believe, here probably as soon as tomorrow. And then defensively, playing, the depth of the players, other than Kendall Dolby, we really haven't had a lot of issues from an injury standpoint. And so that shows. And with the depth of the guys, we played a lot of good players, young players rather, early in that game to try to counteract Tennessee's philosophy and playing fast and getting a lot of snaps. And so I thought that was a great strategy, on the defensive staff's part. And again, from top to bottom, I thought they continued we gave up a couple of big plays that you can't do in a game when there's not much margin for error. And we lost some leverage and coverage that, again, he's by himself. He's got a defender underneath that is going to give him a little body presence for the skinny and for the flat, but he's got to play post-bomb all by himself. And so on that particular play, they did a nice job of beating us and executing at a really high level. But again, like I said, great frustration. Just certainly you don't let it carry over. You let it fuel you and drive you. But that's a game that, if we play a little cleaner, we have an opportunity to take it into the fourth quarter and have a chance to win against a really good team. And to me, if we just get incrementally better, don't turn the ball over, play, physical, play with great effort, and everything else that has been good continues to get better, again, like the defense, like our kicking game, we'll have a chance to be competitive and win every single game that's on our schedule. If we don't do those things, we'll continue to be frustrated and it won't be good. So as I told the team yesterday, this is if we win the game, it's going to be because of all of us. Everybody plays a part in helping us win. And right now, again, the depth of experience and the depth chart of capable players, rest in really two areas, and that's on defense and the special teams. And and we know why we're where we're at. I don't need to promote that any more than it needs to be. That it already has, offensively, and that matters. But it ain't not an excuse. You got to get better, and so that starts with us as a staff. We got to be better, point blank, and then we got to execute. What's called, and so we got to be persistent. We got to be determined, but we got to stay together. That is the most important piece of that. And because again, as I said, the challenges are only going to become greater as we continue to play. It's all hard, and it's all good though. I don't shy away from that whatsoever. And I think it's just it's a great opportunity. That's how I look at it, and a great story of overcoming. That's to me ultimately how we're all defined, is what we're able to overcome. And I got a great opponent, and I say that great history and tradition in Auburn University. What Coach Freeze has been able to do throughout his career. Obviously, he's cut his teeth on really good offenses, and they've actually played really well, other than turning the ball over. And a year ago, again. Lifting up the cushion, so to speak, and looking at them from a year ago, they went to a bowl game in their first year and played several opponents right down to the last drive or so of the game, and rushed for just under 300 yards against the University of Georgia, and it's a one-score game all the way to the end, and had Alabama beat if it weren't for 4th and 35 or whatever it was a year ago. And again, I can imagine the frustration level watching them in their first couple of games. Lost to a scrappy Cal team, by a touchdown, and then last week losing to Arkansas, turning the ball over 5 times. Again, you're not going to win games if you're losing the turnover margin. As I said, when we've won the turnover, I think we're one of the best in college football in turnover margin. We're +7, which makes us first in the SEC and second in the country. We're first in the country in forcing turnovers. You're going to have a chance to win. When you can force turnovers and you can take care of the ball, and then you can play complementary football and you give them a layup, you got to score, whether that's a touchdown or certainly a field goal. The last thing you can do in those situations is turn the ball over. You have no chance to win when you're doing that. We've been pretty good this year, and that was a bad moment. And as I said, I think we're 16-2 since I've been here. In games where we won, or 16-3 now, where we've won the margin over the last 3 years. So, got a great challenge. Teams got great headspace. They recognize where we're at, and hopefully a little more continuity with guys up front is going to be a beneficial thing. It usually is. The more time guys spend together, on the offensive line, and again. We did move Jacoby Johnson over, and Jacoby is a natural receiver. He played a lot more receiver growing up than he did defensive back. He's a fantastic DB. Is really coming on, and has been an excellent special teams player for us. Plays with great effort, super physical, incredibly talented, and and certainly this wasn't a decision that we took lightly. Wanted to find out what he thought of it first and foremost. He wants to help the team, and will there be an impact this week? I don't know. I mean, that's kind of a reach. Wasn't the mindset. The mindset was, how could we get better this season? Got a long season ahead of us. We got 8 more regular season games in front of us, and so you're playing both the short term and the long term with that type of decision. I say long term, I'm talking about this season, and we don't want to give him up. And he's a fantastic corner, and has a chance to play this game a long time at that position. But he's a natural, and he looked like a natural in some ways yesterday. And he's a smart guy, and he cares a lot, and those are always good ingredients to have success. All right.
Take some questions. Please limit yourself to one per person. Eric Bailey.
Brent, you talked about making sure there's no finger pointing. I wanted to ask you got such a mature defense on the field. Off the field, how much do you count on that maturity when it comes to playing complementary football? I know that they're carrying a lot of their weight. How much do you make sure there's no fractures and everything, it stays complementary, and you make sure that everything stays mature in the locker room?
Yeah, you got to work at it every single day, just like you do your own family. You have relationships, and you nurture them, and you work through problems, and no matter what, sometimes you don't like each other, but you always love each other. And it starts with that. I know maybe that's not, what people may or may not want to hear, but that's how you do it. You mesh people together, man. That's one of the funnest parts of coaching is when you nurture the brotherhood, the mutual respect, the mutual appreciation, the mutual love, and where you're pulling for each other, you're helping each other. You got each other's back, no matter what, good or bad. You always got there. It's like a non-negotiable. And I know I'm not naive. If you don't work it, if everybody doesn't play a part in, reinforcing that and being about it, not just talking about it, but we have to be about it. What you do speaks, louder than what you necessarily say. And so that part of it takes all of us, to create an environment that nurtures that. It's team. Team first. Everything should be team first. And getting our guys to buy into that hasn't been hard. And we've worked really hard in the moments of stress and the moments of consternation, if you will. That's when we've really worked hard at, hey, they need the help now, right now, this moment. So go do it. This is what it looks like. And so you work hard at that. And, not to allow, the fractures and not to allow the finger pointing, because everybody on the outside will say, they'll say, that's just how it is. They'll say, we were successful in the defense, or, the kicker stinks, well, the kicker stinks because he's got pressure because somebody didn't block somebody in the A gap. You know what I mean? Not that happened, but my point is everybody else wants to divide, and that's a recipe for disaster. And so this is when I think it, this is me personally, but this is when I think that we let our light shine, man. This is when it'll reveal who we are, but it'll be for all the right things that are going on. And so there's a selflessness that's involved, and there's a respect for, that's above any of us, a responsibility that we all have, because that's what has made Oklahoma great for a long time, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Brent, you talked Saturday about, evaluating things at the quarterback spot. What was it that you learned maybe over those 36 hours or whatever it was to making the decision, and how important was the timing element of it to, have Michael ready, have talked to Jackson about it?
Yeah, and like I said, within the game, the decision-making was different at times. It was just, and what happened was we led to 3 turnovers, and where, again, things that can't happen, whether it's field position where it absolutely can't happen, or maybe where things weren't forced, and that's. And then some of the other basic decision making, where I know what the rules are and we're not doing what the rules are, and that happens sometimes. And for us in that game, in that moment, just felt that I don't know if we can, quote unquote, recover from it in this particular moment, and didn't really want to have the tolerance. It was just getting away from us, and if it was still 3-3, you might be able to tolerate it. And like I said, we had the first turnover, and we turn right around and we go down, on a 10-play, 55-yard drive. I wish we could have scored a touchdown there, but we were able to overcome, in that situation. But that played a big part of it. Field position, being in plus territory, right there at midfield, and then we turn it over on defense, and they get it right back, and we're just giving it to them on another one. And then, the conversation is like, like I shared, I'm like, look, Danny Stutzman, if he's supposed to come off the edge and he doesn't, and now the quarterback breaks contain and runs 35 yards for a touchdown, and then he comes back the next drive and we don't cover the vertical, you're supposed to play him in vertical hook technique and carry the seam down the middle, and you don't do it. He doesn't do it, and they throw it for 50-yard touchdown, and then comes back and gives up another explosive play because he's just not doing what he's supposed to. His butt's coming out, and to me it shouldn't. Again, there's a lot of other moving parts, you know. Danny not executing would be on him. Just, hey, he didn't go run the blitz, or he's not in the A gap when he's supposed to. You know, sometimes at quarterback, there's a lot of other moving parts that affect you too. And so I get that, try to weigh it all together. But he understood. He had a great mindset, no surprise. He's a tough guy. He takes responsibility. No, didn't make excuses. And you know, as we know, we've seen lots of different scenarios go down, and you put your head down and get better. You know, that's it. That's what you can control, and so he's doing that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Brent, sort of what you were just talking about, making a change in the middle of a game. Now you've made one in the middle of the week in terms of the starting quarterback, but in the middle of a game, what are some of the non-specific issues with the quarterback that you have to factor in terms of making that decision?
Yeah. Receivers running routes. And again, you know, we on one of the RPO, you know, where the receiver didn't run the right route up the field, the vertical part of the route that is the part of the RPO. So he's blocking instead of running the route. Well, we look out there and there ain't nobody to throw it to, you know, and so he pumps and the guy doesn't run the route, and so that happened. But we're supposed to, again, just hand the ball off on that exact look. And you know, for me, like I said, you know, you try to don't give them too many options. How about that? You know, if you're supposed to blitz outside contain, you stay outside of everybody. If they put 2 tight ends over there, stay outside. If they got just a 2-man surface, stay outside. You know, you're outside. You know, not, well, if they do this and you can come under, but you got to get back outside. You don't do that. You don't give them too much autonomy. And especially young players that you know, sometimes they'll swim a little more, their head swim a little more than maybe a veteran player that you can give a little more autonomy in the right moment. So, but yeah, it's protection. It's, you know, running the right routes with the right depth. You know, it's getting open. You know, that's a thing too. Maybe it's not, nobody's open. So a lot goes into it. And, you know, like we talked about a week ago in the Tulane game, the running back's supposed to block that B-gap backer. Well, the running back took off running over there. And guess where the B-gap backer went? Right into the quarterback's face. And he broke the tackle. Now he's under pressure. And, you know, and next thing you know, it's a pick 6. So that's the stuff. And I know you know, so you're just writing a story. But and there's countless things like that can happen, as we all know.
Brent, you're going on the road for the first time in the SEC to a place that is really tough to play, and you're going to start a true freshman at quarterback. How can you help to make it, it's not going to be easy on him, but maybe easier? Are there things that you can do to help him out that way?
Yeah, I mean, of course he hasn't been there, right? So I say that all the time. We, as coaches, got to be the headlights for our players. They've never been, you know, a 2-year veteran yet. Mike hasn't. He hadn't played a whole bunch of college football. You know, he hadn't been to that stadium. So you try to paint the picture, an adequate picture, and then you pump in the crowd noise, and then tell him to focus on things that you can control. And try to get him, if he's a strong-minded guy, he'll do that. You know, think about the process, think about managing things from the right way. Don't try to do too much and all those kind of things, and then let the players around you help you, and then the coaching staff help him as well. But he'll have to bear, you know, a heavy burden, like a lot of guys, and so you try to coach him and prepare him, you know, in a week's period of time. But we've been talking about going to Auburn for several months. So if he's been paying attention, this isn't the first time he's hearing about it.
Hey, Brent. Heard you last night talking about the RPO stuff, and you just told Barry about it too. I'm wondering, just from a coaching perspective, is there a way to simplify those type of plays, or is it one of those things that young guys, they just have to get more reps with RPOs? Like, I guess. Yeah,
I mean, I think some guys are more natural. Sometimes it's the picture's so clear because the guy beat his guy. You know, he got off press coverage, and man, he snapped it up. Man, he snapped it off, and he's in a great position, and the picture's super clear, super fast. And then sometimes the guys, man, their mouthpiece is in their way, and he can't get off, you know, press coverage, and now everything is, you know, we got the right coverage, but we don't got the right route. And then sometimes, I don't think complicated, but we can uncomplicate it and tell them to hand the damn ball off. And you don't have to, you know, RPO to have a good play. And so we don't have, it's not like we have every play as an RPO. Tennessee pretty much was, and you know, they're running it really well. And some of their issues, it all ain't the same. You know, you'd like to say it is, but it's not all the same. So. But we can. I don't think that it's a complicated concept at all. You know, there's, you know, pre-snap anticipation. People are going to show you one thing pre-snap and change it post-snap, you know, and try to get you, you know. I like to do that on defense. I think that's a real thing. And, you know, and people are doing that a lot. Man, don't overcomplicate it on this side. And sometimes that's not happening. And sometimes we're just not executing, you know, well enough. And sometimes you say, hey, man, you should have done this last week. Man, there's 2 times you should have done this. And then sometimes a young player, they might say, okay, well, the next game I'm gonna, no matter what. And it's like, well, that's not the time to do that. Actually, you know, and then you start forcing things instead of letting it come naturally. So I just believe that in some ways, less is more. Don't give too much autonomy. You know, hey, do you want me to blitz the running back and stay outside of him, coach, or do you want me to come underneath him? Like, you should tell him. Sometimes you might say, hey, just beat him either way. We have you protected either way. And sometimes, no, you got to come underneath him so the quarterback moves off the spot and he'll go right to the rush. Like, you need to be specific, you know, that you can't leave it to chance. I just don't think that's a good strategy. Mm-hmm.
Brent, you said the offense, the physicality has been there at times, just not consistently across. Is that something that, is that experience piece lacking that you need to experience?
Yes, it's practice. It's practice. It's confidence. It comes from practice, doing it right. There is, you know, when you're experienced, you look at the defense, and I go back, you know, and you like to say, well, you know, I know we were terrible coaches 2 years ago. You know, we had terrible results, so you can't coach. And then 2 years later, it's better. And the number one ingredient to me is the confidence and the experience, the depth of knowledge that the players have. And so they can execute the plan. They can think ahead. They can anticipate. They understand where all their help is on coverage and in the run fit. They understand the strategy, trying to show them one thing and then do another. They get that. They don't get overwhelmed in all of those really fast, tight moments that the game's going to give you. And young guys a lot of times will get overwhelmed. Same thing, everything. I think the line of scrimmage is the hardest positions to play because everything happens so fast. There's not the margin for error. If you're a linebacker, you're off the line of scrimmage, give or take 5 yards. You can false step and still try to regain leverage. You know, maybe I guessed it was run, but it was pass. I have time to recover. When you're at the line of scrimmage and you step wrong, you say the wrong thing, everything happens so fast, everybody's on top of you right now. And so to answer your question, it's the experience, it's the availability, how long you've been practicing, all that kind of stuff. All that stuff adds up.
Brent, you showed a lot of defense, or you showed a lot of players on defense against Tennessee, and a lot of guys played well. Coach Freeze has been playing some pretty good offense for a long time, 400 yards. I know they've turned the ball over. Talk about that matchup, because that's a game.
They got excellent backs. They've got 3 starters back from a year ago up front. They've got really good, long, athletic, strong tight ends. They use tight ends. They use multiple backs. Hunter's a fantastic player, a really good football player. His play design is really good. I think it's elite. You know, their presentations, and they've got, a year ago they didn't have the receivers that they have now. And so they're trying to get into rhythm, and their RPO opportunities are there. They've hit several explosive plays that way. They have moved the ball. They've just, I bet you they're saying they can't get out of their own way sometimes, you know. And again, nothing impacts a game like turnovers. And everybody wants somebody else to blame. Well, again, we got to take care of the ball. We got to make better decisions, you know. All the things I just talked about, you know, about what affected us the other night, and what we can and can't do. But but they've got really good players. And then on defense, they're very similar to what we saw at Tennessee. They're big, they're strong, they got a great front. They've got guys in the back end that can cover. They're multiple. They're more multiple than what Tennessee was. They're very multiple. They're going to get in four-man front structure, and then some 3-4 out of the same personnel, and aggressive. DJ Durkin does a great job. He did a great job at A&M, at Ole Miss, and the other stops. I think he's at Florida as well, and what have you. So good coach. They've done a good job. They've recruited well. They got big, strong, powerful guys, and then they're top 10 in the country in kicking game. They're really good. Punter, kicker, their coverage teams, their return guys are super, very similar. Maybe a little more depth to what they do, a little more consistency to even what we saw out of Tennessee this last week in the kicking game.
Brent, I understand Devon Mitchell should be a high school senior, but just sort of wondering, where's his development, his growth at this point, and just how's the tight end spot look through the first third of the season?
Well, Devon's doing really good. He's had a great first month of the season. When Devon got here, Devon will be the first to tell you it took him a little while to transition. And just a young kid. I've got kids we raised, I've been in a locker room for a long time, and so kind of know what this looks like. But having great focus wasn't something that he had in the spring when he first got here. And just timeliness, showing up with the right clothes on, being on time, turning in assignments, just all the stuff that a lot of young kids do when they go to college. Nothing malicious. Great young man, but he couldn't get out of his own way, and he's decided to lock in and focus here since school started. And he's been down on the scout team with us, and everything has been completely and totally different. I'm not surprised. A lot of young guys come in and they just they struggle with the structure. They struggle with having to be at a million places right on time, and whether it's, again, study hall or class or meals or weight workouts, turning your assignments in on time, just making good decisions. You got 1,000 of them to make the day, and every single one of them have consequences. And so, like I said, he was just on a lot of lists for a lot of little stuff, but with a lot of help and support, both from home and then him taking a good hard look at himself. And he's done a really nice job, an excellent job. He's been a scout team player of the week, and so he may have an opportunity to be a part of what's going on, but for him, he'd be the first one to tell you, he's a non-factor all fall camp. He's a non-factor all summer. He's an all non-factor in spring ball. He's a non-factor in winter conditioning, only because of all the things I'm talking about. It kind of kept him away from, he had no stamina, but like I said, he's flipped the switch. He's been getting after it. He's been accountable, and he's been a scout team player of the week, and just been a dude, the dude that we know that he can be, and hopefully will continue to be.
Brent, you mentioned Jacoby making that move from DB to wide receiver. You also had DJ Graham make that same move a couple of years ago. What did you learn in that situation?
Well, again, DJ came to us and asked to do it, and we said we need him at corner. You're actually starting a game last week at corner, and we don't have anybody else, and so they're not the same.
What did you maybe learn in terms of?
I didn't learn anything because I don't. DJ's a phenomenal athlete, and had he stayed just at one position his whole career, that might have probably helped him. But he's a fantastic athlete. Situations aren't really the same. I didn't have a whole lot of evaluation going on when that happened. Jacoby, he's incredibly eager to do it. Very natural in his skill set. He learns well. He'll put the time in, the extra time that's required. He won't get disappointed if it doesn't happen yesterday. He's just being the consummate team guy, knowing that, he still has a home on our side of the ball, at any point in time this year. And we felt, just look at the roster. Okay, where do we definitively need some help? And again, we've lost a bunch of guys. You know, Andrell hasn't ever come back, you know, amongst others. And so we know the issues that we have there. And, you know, he's 6'2", he's 210 pounds. He runs every bit of 4.4, if not faster. And he's been playing that way. Sometimes guys are really skilled, but because of maybe they haven't played as much, or maybe they're young, they just got here, you don't see that explosiveness or the assuredness, that top end speed. But Jacoby, again, a year ago, you know, was our, you know, one of our players of the year on special teams, and had our most special team snaps of anybody on our team last year. Played with incredible effort, and he's doing the same thing this year, and playing, you know, in meaningful opportunities as a corner as well. And so he's a different level of maturity to help him transition. And we got to find ways to, you know, make it simple. He's a physical guy. He'll block. He knows how to use his hands. We've just been okay, you know, with our perimeter, you know, blocking. It's just, and again, you get that, you know, sometimes when you, because the game happens really fast. And I know how we train and we practice how to attack block destruction on the perimeter. You just look at was that the first play of the Tennessee game? They try to throw it out there, out here over on this sideline. Tennessee's offense against our defense. Y'all there? I know I was. I've seen like 7,000 plays here in the last, but I think that happened in the first play. And if you remember, in 2021, on the first play of the game against Texas, they throw a little screen right out there, and they housed it. And you got a freshman DB trying to set an edge that was unsure of himself, didn't set an edge, and he gone. Well, you saw out here the same freshman DB that's now a senior on that same play, you know, him and the other defender, man, set an edge, and it was a tackle for loss right out the gate. And so I use that, you know, to parlay into what you're asking. You know, Jacoby's aggressive, and he's physical, and he knows what an offense is trying to do, just say on a perimeter screen, and what kind of leverage he needs to maintain. He's just using all of his defensive acumen. You know, we study offenses more than we study defense. We talk offense more than we study defense in the defensive room. What they're thinking, what the weakness of the defense is, you know, the way we should anticipate them attack us this way, and if we take that away, it's a wrap. So he'll have that mindset. You know, we call the routes what they call it. You know, we call them that. So he's going to be able to like have this communication and conversation with the coach that should help, you know, expedite his transition. And that's everything. If you can say it, you can play it. If you can't, you're like, okay, now what'd you say? And you go into your notes and, you know, yesterday what'd you say, coach? Or no, or you actually remember it. You know, it's like, man, that makes sense. I can talk to you like this. I don't need to refer to my notes. I know that, you know, 3rd and 3, they're doing this, and we're doing that. And this is how we're going to stop it. So I think he'll be able to bring some of that more so than maybe some of the other guys that are there right now as they learn and grow and get better. And just another body that can, he's an explosive guy that, like I said, has tremendous ball skills, and he's got great competitive toughness to him as well. Mm-hmm. All right, anybody got anything else?
At Clemson in 2016 when you guys have played at Auburn, he recalled that there was a moment where you gave him a signal and he called in the wrong play and you started yelling at him, but it wound up in an interception. Do you recall that exchange? And what do you remember about coaching in that stadium as a visiting coach?
It's electric. They've got tremendous, you know, tradition and pageantry. They'll be deep. They're hungry. Very much like what we saw out here. Our fans were absolute. They were just amazing. And it'll be an environment like that. I do remember that moment. And sometimes you got to overcome your coaching. And things don't always have to be perfect. So good for him. Yeah, he put us in a great call. No surprise.
Brent, while the quarterback change is logical and understanding, it couldn't have been simple or easy. I can't imagine that. Jackson continues to make just an inordinate amount of mistakes you wouldn't expect, but my bet is he hadn't lost the ability to play quarterback. Unlike all these ballyhoo quarterbacks who've come in before, he's struggling to get some opportunities. I mean, I don't need to tell you the lack of offensive direction and non-existent run game, the O-line problems, in his face and all that. How does that factor into all of it? And I assume all that was part of the discussion with your quarterback?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, everything that you just said goes into all of it. And a lot of it was things had not been easy through the first part of the season. And again, for not just because of him, he did plenty of really good things too. And so you evaluate a body of work, and there's every position you evaluate some ways the same and some not the same. And as you alluded to and I spoke about earlier, and certainly it wasn't easy, but within the game, and now it's 19-3 because of a lack of consistency, continuity, decision-making, not just on his part, but he is a part. And then, again, where those turnovers happen and you get these small windows of opportunity, you get the ball at midfield or plus territory, man, you gotta taste blood, man. You gotta step on the throat, and you gotta make people pay for that, and those opportunities just don't keep happening. And so just weighed it all together and said, we need something different and right now, and felt that maybe that could be the answer. And so that's what happened there.
Brent, can you, without giving any state secrets to Auburn or anything like that, can you describe the offensive game planning process during the week, how you lead up to the game, who's doing what, how much collaboration there is between the position coaches and co-coordinators, and then what you like about that process and maybe what you want to see tweaked about that process?
Well, that's a long conversation, but it is everybody, and you use depth of experience, and then there's an evaluation for this is what we have, this is where we're at, this is what we do well, this is what we don't do well, this is what we need to do better. If one guy does this better, if we get a better snap, if we have, we eliminate some of the communication. Let's just, again, if we're all wrong, we're all right. And so all of that goes into it. And then again, there's a philosophy on, running the ball, pushing the ball down the field, attacking the ball downhill in the run game. And we got to create explosive plays. And so how do you do that? You got to have some balance in your offense, your ability to be efficient running the ball, to create, some potential explosive plays. Who can beat one-on-one coverage? If they're playing us like this week and we've got a good matchup, a friendly matchup, then let's go take, advantage of it. And so sometimes you have that and sometimes you don't. So you evaluate personnel, you evaluate scheme, you evaluate how it relates to your opponent, what they're good at, what they're not good at, what we can't allow to happen in this game plan. And again, strategy 101 is to take away what they do best, and attack it. And so always easier said than done, I know, but that's got to be a thoughtful process. And so it is like I said, it's a collaboration. You work through it. Here's where we start on Monday, and then here's the different areas that we're working and emphasizing on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then on Thursday, so forth and so on. So really, all the way up to game time, you're still dotting the I's and crossing the T's. I think if you're doing your due diligence, as a coach, and so there's no way that could have satisfied what you're asking for, but in a 2.5-minute answer, that's that. I would, because I know there was somebody brought it to my attention. There was a story that was written. Just not that it really matters, but at the same time, at the end of the year, had a meeting after a few weeks at the end of the season where Dylan Gabriel came to visit with me. He wanted to have a meeting and let me know that he wasn't going to play in a bowl game. And so I had already had cotton wind, and he knew some other guys were opting out on the offensive line and things like that. And I did not know that at that time that he wasn't going to go to the NFL. When we had a great conversation with him, disappointed that he wasn't going to go play in the bowl game, and with the circumstances of Coach Levy leaving, and thought he wanted to get closer to home, to Hawaii, and so I was like, I didn't know I had to fight this fight. I didn't realize that you were even considering coming back. And he says, yeah, but I just really want to, get closer to home. So that's, again, we hugged and shook hands, and, he was a little emotional, and I was, but it was all really good and positive. You make a guy stay. You guys trying to, find the next thing, the next chapter for him. I'm sure there was probably some disappointment that, that he wasn't more highly thought of in the NFL. Had an amazing year, and is a fantastic quarterback. And but with nobody running nobody off or things like that, So I've always, the veterans are good. I think I've always said that the experienced player can do a little more than sometimes the young guys. But that's neither here nor there. But I did want to make sure you cleared that up.
Coach, you just talked about an experienced player at the quarterback position. How important is Casey Thompson right now in terms of stabilizing your quarterback room and as a mentor helping this young guy get ready to play?
Yeah, he's been fantastic. He's been there, done that. He's started, a gazillion games, played a lot of ball, been in a lot of meeting rooms, seen a lot of that kind of stuff happen. And so he's got tremendous wisdom. He's mature beyond his years. He's going to be a coach. He'll be a fantastic coach. He's kind of a coach now, and but he's been wonderful. He's very intentional, constantly about using the gifts that he has to make people around him better, and I love that. He's just very ambitious, and he's a giver, and those guys would probably testify to that. That he's a solution-based kind of guy, but he's a great supporter of his teammates. It might be maybe where it's Skelly, and he's standing right next to me, and we watch a throw, and the throw, I'm like, man, you should have done it. And he was like, well, he was kind of thinking, he's defending him, or maybe afterwards he's like, man, you be all right, man. Next rack, next play, something like that. So just very thoughtful, and you can't have enough guys like that. And so we have a great appreciation for Casey.